How are you guys? BC90 here with the next video in my Poise showcase series, and today we'll be looking at Lorian's Greatsword. Now, going over to our equipment page, we have the Lorian's Greatsword +4. I don't have it at max capabilities here, but it still does a respectable amount of AR. Two-handed, we're looking at 556. And when you do the L2, which activates Stomp, you get this little fire animation here, which looks cool, and also increases our AR to 636, which is still quite good for an Ultra Greatsword. And again, we're aiming for consecutive hyper armor trades, so once you get your opponent in that sandwich, it's pretty much game over. Now, going over back to our equipment page, the Lorian's Greatsword does split damage, physical with fire, similar to the Lothric Greatsword that does physical and lightning. Although I dare say that the Lothric Greatsword is a little bit more effective, it has a little bit more reach, it does a little bit more damage, and it can be infused and buffed. Now, I've got the Sharp Notch Whip here, the Arbalest and the Blessed Cestus. We've got our Havel's Armor here for those sweet Poise armor values, and the Alba Helm. Now, going back to our Poise calculator, we need a base Poise stat of 45.81 to be able to trade with other Ultra Greatswords and every other weapon in the game except for those Greathammers. So we're looking at here, our Poise is 46.54, so we definitely can comfortably trade with everything except Greathammers, which is quite good in my opinion. Ring setup, as always, got the Havels, the Sun Princess, Ring of Favour and Chloranthy Ring. Now, if you want to break down on how all of this stuff works together and you haven't seen my earlier videos, check them out because I do go into this setup in more detail. But otherwise, we'll showcase Lorian's Greatsword in this particular video and see how it does. Now, the moveset is pretty much identical to the Lothric Greatsword. We have these pokes, the running pokes, and the Stomp. Although the Stomp here, activates that sort of little fire animation. So we'll go straight into the arena here for a couple of matches and see how we go. Now, extra points for Fashion Souls here in my opinion. I think this weapon looks pretty awesome, especially with that little fire animation there. Although it doesn't last very long, so keep that in mind. Gotta watch out for the double katana weapon art. I think he's looking for an opening here. There we go. Now, I dare not pronounce the actual name of that weapon because I might butcher it. But we really just need to watch out for that weapon art when it comes to that weapon. I think he had Carthus Rouge there buffed with that weapon, so basically it was a standard sort of bleed type build. So once he gets that weapon art in, it does cause a lot of blood loss and a big chunk of our HP will disappear. So yeah, keep an eye on that weapon art, guys, with that particular weapon. But as you can see, not afraid of trading. Again, we're aiming for those consecutive trades with most of these builds or all of these Poise builds, and it is quite effective when it does work, which is most of the time, admittedly. Alrighty guys, we'll go straight into the next match. Now, in terms of Ultra Greatswords, really, with the Poise breakpoints, guys, it's the same Poise breakpoint for every weapon in their own respective class. So for us to be able to trade with everything except Greathammers when we use any Ultra Great Sword, that breakpoint is 45.81, and it'll be different depending on what class of weapon you use. But in terms of the different weapons within that same class, the same Poise breakpoint will apply to them. Ooh. Well, we have a great club here. So we need to be very careful here because this is a particular matchup where we cannot effectively trade. As you can see. So we're going to have to try and space our opponent out here. Now I know this may be a cheap tactic, I'm not going to lie, but because we can't trade with our main weapon, we need to change up our tactics, guys. That's really the only way here. So we're looking for openings here when he does attack with those super slow great club hits. We want to hit him with our Arbalist. And we're just going to whittle him down here. Obviously he's getting angry. Alrighty, so that particular matchup was a good argument for the fact that I like versatility in my weapon selections. I want to make sure I have different options available to deal with different threats. I've said this multiple times in my previous videos, and in a particular matchup such as that, where we obviously know we can't trade with a Greathammer, we need to use tactics such as those. Again, I will happily admit that they are, I guess, cheap tactics, but they are in the game. They are effective, and in those particular matchups where it's our only option, we're going to be using those tactics. So we're going to be spacing our opponent there. We're going to be, waiting for openings in their attacks and hitting them with, hit and run tactics. So it doesn't matter if you use a crossbow or a spear, whatever, you are looking for those openings in those attack patterns to be able to hit them. Alrighty guys, straight on to our next match. Make sure our Arbalist is loaded and ready, just in case. Another important tactic I want to quickly discuss here when using heavier weapons, so Ultra Great Swords, Greathammers, etc., is, you know, basically how you fight. I mean, you're not going to go in there just R1 spamming, hoping to catch your opponent in that, you know, hyper armor blender. In certain circumstances, such as that last match, we want to bait our opponent. So a good way to do that is having those consumables. I mean, everyone uses them, those fire bombs, throwing knives, whatever. And sometimes it's about baiting your opponent into your attacks in order to win, to get those trades. So we'll see if we can get one last match here, guys, showcasing Lorian's Greatsword. All in all, I think there are better Ultra Greatswords in its class, but it is quite good. It's quite a good weapon on its in its own right. Alrighty, so our opponent there quickly switched to a spear, I think it was, not quite sure what spear, but obviously, as I've discussed in previous videos, those weapons that can be quite effective using hit and run tactics, such as, you know, runs and pokes, rolls and pokes, are a little bit of a weakness to these ultra weapons, so keep that in mind, guys. Luckily for us, that gentleman wasn't very good at spacing us, so we were able to grab a victory there. Alrighty guys, so I might wrap up the video here. I'm trying to keep it under 15 minutes, showcasing Lorian's Greatsword. So, like other Ultra Greatswords in its class, the breakpoint remains the same to be able to trade with pretty much every weapon in the game, except those Greathammers. And when you do fight those Greathammers, spacing and, you know, alternative tactics are your best friend. All in all, this Greatsword is a pretty good weapon, has that pretty cool fire effect, it does a reasonable amount of damage. So, I mean, it's quite viable with this particular setup, so don't be afraid to use it if it's your preferred Ultra Greatsword. Now, as always guys, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you're enjoying my content, please subscribe. Otherwise, thank you for watching.